All right, welcome to another science lesson. And in this lesson, me and Mr. An, we are doing learn activity 3.5, surviving Earth. So basically, we were learning about like how the Earth's magnetosphere or magnetic field of the Earth help to shield us from a lot of space radiation and a lot of space things, and it form a protective layer so that life on Earth can exist. So now, because the Earth has a strong magnetosphere, so it protects everything inside of it. So imagine if we go out of it, we will have trouble very soon, because there's a lot of dangerous radiation in the universe, So they can be penetrating, they can be very damaging to our health, can be life-threatening too. So, and then we move on to the layers of the atmosphere. Can you read it?
Yeah, exposure contain almost no gas. This outer layer extends upward to 10 kilometers above the Earth's surface.
So, exo mean out, the outermost layer,
Yeah,
exosphere. No gas, almost no gas, because it's so thin. It's the outermost, it's very thin, contain almost no gas. Outer layer extends upward to 10,000 kilometer. Not 10 kilometer, it's 10,000 kilometer.
oh, 10,000
Mm-hmm.
kilometers.
That's really, really, really high. And then thermosphere, thermal means heat, right?
Yeah, yeah, heat.
So, of course, the space station and shuttle orbit the Earth here. Uh-huh. Smaller outer space. It's very little gas and extremely cold, even though it's called thermosphere, but it actually is quite cold there. So basically, the reference image on the left, they misplaces the space station. I mean, there should not be a space station there at the thermosphere, because the space station should be at the thermosphere, not at the exosphere.
Yeah,
Okay.
mesosphere.
Meso in the middle. Meso in the middle.
Oh,
Oh wow, look at that temperature. Exosphere is like 2,800 degrees Celsius. It's
this is where meteor
extremely,
begin to
extremely hot over
form.
there. Because why? We have
Yeah,
ionized gas, plasma over there, and a lot of weird chemical reaction over there. So it produces a lot of light and heat at that high temperature. I mean, at that high height. That's very high height. And then thermosphere, they say it's 2,000 degrees Celsius. But then when you go a bit deeper, it can reach minus 180. It's really cold over there. And then
wow.
mesosphere is just really cold too, where meteor begin to burn up as they crash toward the surface of the Earth. I think the temperature there is just wrong. The picture is
Oh,
wrong, I think, because it's impossible to be like that. I mean, I don't think it's that high. So don't trust everything you see on this picture then.
yeah.
So mesosphere, when meteor begin to burn up as they crash toward the surface of the Earth. Dead zone for flying. So it means dead zone for flying, which means like you're not allowed to fly over there that high.
Yeah,
Meteor burns up over there. And then stratosphere is where we can see airplanes, balloon, airplane, and things like that.
contain less oxygen and carbon dioxide than
Then the first layer with a high concentration of ozone gas. Ozone layer.
the ozone gas in the atmosphere is known as the ozone layer. It is act as a filter to block harmful ultraviolet radiation from reaching the surface. Without the protected ozone layer, life
Life
cannot
cannot
exist
exist
on the surface.
because the ozone layer reflect a lot of harmful UV radiation. So basically, it protects life on Earth. And so if you fly above that ozone layer, you know that you are not protected. Could be very harmful for you there. So that's why when we go
Oh,
on an airplane, I don't suggest people, you know, you should not look outside of the window for too long, especially when it's sunny,
yeah.
because it's very damaging for the skin, to be honest. And then the lowest is troposphere.
Sure. Contain oxygen and carbon dioxide. Animal require oxygen for cellular respiration, and plant use for carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Synthesis. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, which means it, that it can trap heat near the surface of Earth, making it warm enough to support
Support life.
life
CO2 is a
with it.
greenhouse gas, so it traps the heat in there, and then so it keeps the Earth warm.
Yeah,
But with too much, the Earth could be too hot, and life could not exist either. So we need them, but of course we don't need too much of them. Too many, too much CO2, we die. So, troposphere, you can see passenger plane, but not fighter plane. Fighter plane, they fly much higher. So, normally, if you go on an airplane, you do not reach stratosphere. You're only at troposphere. Troposphere.
yeah,
So I don't think you have to worry too much, but still, UV light and things. It's quite bizarre. It's quite strong up there.
different from
You say something about season?
oh, season.
Seasons,
Yeah,
another feature of
next.
the Earth makes it different. Okay, of course, the Earth, distinct from other planets is that it has distinct seasons. So basically, winter, summer, fall, and spring. It had distinct season, but on the other planets, it doesn't seem so. Can you read more?
Yeah, um, this is because the Earth
Tilted,
is tilted on its
tilted
axis.
on its axis, tilted on its axis. So it's like it's not like this, but it's like tilted. You know, in its axis
Yeah,
in relation to its orbit around the sun. So it's tilted.
see, the axis is the center line that runs vertically between
Vertically,
the north.
vertically. That runs vertically.
Vertically between the North and South Pole, the Earth rotates around this axis like a spinning top during its 24-hour cycle.
Like just spinning around in 24-hour cycles, and then the whole thing
Yeah.
just spin around the sun too. You can see the picture here. Solstice, Equinox, and Solstice.
Seasons differ in different their amount of sunlight and in in their temperature, the amount of sunlight and temperature at any given moment. On the surface is caused by the tilt of the Earth.
Of course, because it's tilted, so it results in different regions receiving different amount of lights.
Yeah. As the Earth orbit the
The
Sun on
Earth's
its
orbit.
the Earth orbit. As the orbit the Sun on its tilted axis, different part of the globe get exposed to more or less sunlight. The illustration part,
Show the position of the Earth in relation to the Sun during each of the 4 seasons.
yeah. The 4 season northern country like Canada, notice how during summer,
The north is tilted toward the Sun. In spring and fall, the north is the same position relative to the Sun. It explains something because we are mostly at the northern hemisphere of the Earth, right?
yeah,
So right now it's winter time at our place, Vietnam. But then in Australia, for example, it is in the southern hemisphere, right? So right now it's nearer the sun. So right now in Australia it's summer.
summer.
Mm-hmm. Right now in Australia it's summer because it's in the southern hemisphere. It's nearer to the sun. It receives more sunlight, more energy. And when we reaches around July or the end of June, we are summer again because we are nearer to the sun at northern hemisphere. But then in Australia, because it's a southern hemisphere by then, it receives much less sunlight, so it's winter time by that time over there. Weird,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Now you know it.
yeah.
There's some fact to know.
The north is tilted towards the sun, and in the winter, the north is tilted away from the sun. In spring and fall, the north is in the same position relative to the sun. As the Earth orbits the sun, it does not change the tilt of its axis, as you can see
The
in the
illustration: the
illustration.
North Pole faces the sun in summer and faces away from it in winter. Mm-hmm.
North, you would,
Just remember, at northern hemisphere during winter, of course winter we are far away from the sun, but summer we are nearer to the sun, that's all. And you will understand like
yeah,
where tilt. The logic, just logic. But during spring and autumn we receive almost the same. Up north and up south, so it's almost the same. Only in winter and summer is different, a lot of difference, you know. So that's why we have a day called solstice. Solstice. It's when the
solstice.
season changes. Ngày đổi
Hmm.
mùa. It's like solstice. It's when the season changes. Or solstice, basically, say 22nd of June is the hottest day of the year. Hottest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. And so winter solstice is 22nd of December. It's the coldest. It should be the coldest, or it changes to winter or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just in the past. Now we have global warming and everything is changing so much. Now, stimulating the seasons.
Simulating
Activity.
system. This activity you simulate where you need a flashlight, a dark room, a globe, or flame cutout. Setting up.
Okay, setting up, stimulating the season.
Yeah. So it's like setting up. Identify the two latitude line called the
Tropic
Tropic
of
of
Cancer and Tropic of
Cancer.
Capricorn. So basically, there are two lines on your globe. It's called the Tropic of Cancer, which is to the north, and the Tropic of Capricorn. Basically, that's the line separating the different kind of what's it called? The separate different kind of climates. Like for example, from Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn, that's the region of tropical weather, you know.
Yeah.
But outside of that, you can have temperate climate, like for example, a climate that is like relatively cold, like Dalat, for example. That's temperate climate. So outside of Tropic of Cancer, we have outside of Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, we have temperate climate. But inside of Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn, we have the what's it called? Equator. We have the tropical weather, very hot and humid. Like Vietnam is actually inside of that Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn region, you know.
Oh,
Now, can you read the setting out?
identify the two latitude.
23.5 degrees south equator. Wait, it's not south, it's north, right? 23.5
Yeah.
degree
Wait.
north of the equator. So this website sometimes it's not correct. It's not been proofread yet.
Darken the room, turn on your flashlight, and adjust the width.
Mhm. Adjust the width of the beam to move the flashlight so that the light just covers the entire height of our globe cutout picture. So it means that the light does not exceed that or not enough. It's just barely enough to cover the north and the south pole of the Earth, right?
Yeah,
So you can see that when half of the Earth it's lit, the other half is like dark.
dark. Keep,
Keep the
keep the
flashlight
flashlight
steady.
steady.
Tilt the globe, like tilt it.
Yeah,
So the central part of the flashlight beams strike the Tropic of Cancer. Mhm. So the central part of flashlight beams strike the Tropic of Cancer. This represents the location of the sun during summer in the Northern Hemisphere. Because the central beam of the sun strikes the Tropic of Cancer, so basically it's the strongest over there. Tropic of Cancer
yeah.
receive the strongest amount of lights by that time of the year, summer. So basically, by 22nd of June, it should be the hottest at that place, Tropic of Cancer. And I'm born a Cancer, so basically I was born in July 16. So I'm in the zodiac sign of Cancer, and they named that tropic in the sign of my sign, Tropic of Cancer.
Okay. Keep this one. This represents the location of the sun. So in the northern hemisphere, your illuminator should look like the one shown below this image.
How sunlight falls on the Earth during summer in the northern hemisphere.
Simulation. Note this part.
You can only be done with using a glove. So if you don't have a glove in your hand, it's tough to do this simulation. Spin the glove slowly to represent at least one day and night cycle. As you do this, focus on the area of the globe above the Arctic Circle. Let me just read it, please.
Uh, the farther north you go in the summer, the more surf hour of daylight you get. You should observe that some of the region above the Arctic Circle is lit 24-hour a day in summer.
Mhm.
If you have a globe, spin it slowly and again
Focus on the
focus
area
on the
above.
area above. The Arctic Circle is this area in light or darkness,
Mhm.
or any part in total darkness for 24-hour a day.
Mhm.
Now tilt the globe or picture that the
The central
central
light
light
beam
beam.
strikes the equator.
So I think it's season simulators. So yeah.
Okay, let's do the season stimulator. Why the season? Why there's no season in the equator? Mhm. Try it. And you can see that, okay, it's just tilting, the tilt is just being changed.
Yeah.
And you can see the day, that is, okay, right now September 14th is like autumn or the fall. So you see, North and the South Pole receive equal amount of light. And I'm sure if you go to, say, March 14, for example, it will be the same. Try it, you see.
March 14.
Mhm. There you go. So about March 14, it would be similar because you see North and South receive almost the same now.
Yeah. If you have a now consider winter in the northern hemisphere. Tilt the globes or picture so that the central beam strike the tropical
Capricorn,
Capricorn.
Tropic of Capricorn.
Capricorn. Capricorn. This is where the sun is doing a Canadian winter.
Canadian winter.
Your Im- yeah.
Mhm.
Your emulated Earth should look like this one.
Mhm. So by that time, let's go to winter.
So like somewhere here.
Yeah. So you see, Tropic of Capricorn now receive the most energy, the most sunlight. So
Yeah.
of course, by our winter will be the summer in Australia, for example, because Southern Hemisphere, Tropic of Capricorn somewhere.
Simulating session describe how the location of the maximum sunlight on Earth vary by the season.
Maximum sunlight basically vary by season. You should talk about the Tropic of Capricorn and Tropic of Cancer in this case.
Yeah.
So during summer, the Tropic of Capricorn receive the maximum amount of sunlight. However, by winter time, the Tropic of Capricorn, I mean Cancer, is in summer. It receive the most sunlight, but the Tropic of Capricorn receive the most sunlight during winter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you want to, you can just show suggested answer.
During summer, the northern part of the Earth is tilted toward the sun, and the maximum amount of the sunlight directly strike the Tropic of Cancer above the equator. In the
The equator,
fall,
above the equator.
no, the
Above
equator,
the equator. In the
the
fall, the
equator.
Earth is tilted. It's interesting why your screen is showing the 5th of January, even though right now it's the 6th of January already. Is your time still Canadian time?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's still Canadian time, sure. Because right now it's the June. It's the 6th of January.
Mm. Why you think the latitude line called Tropic
Tropic
of
of Cancer
Cancer
and
and
Tropic of
Tropics of
Capricorn are
Capricorn?
located 23.5 degrees away from the equator.
So these latitude line represent um,
Okay, so this might take a long while for you to find the answer. Okay, so I was explaining something about the tilt of the Earth is about something like that 23.5 degrees, right? So basically,
yeah.
normally if it doesn't tilt, then you would think that when the sunlight strikes the Earth, the equator will receive the most light. But no, it's not. Because the Earth tilt 23.5 degree. So you see that during winter, Tropic of Capricorn receive the most lights. But during summer, Tropic of Cancer receive the most sunlight. So it is because of that 23.5 degree tilt of the Earth. That's why they say Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn are located 23.5 degrees away from the equator because of that, you know. Okay, let's read their
Oh,
answer now. Can you read that answer? This latitude line,
okay.
something
These latitude line
represent the location.
set the location based on the maximum sunshine during summer and winter.
Is the Earth tilted 23.5 degrees on its axis? This line represents the location of the middle of the Earth. Uh-huh. I mean, their answer does not sound easy to understand. My answer sounds way better to understand, to be honest. Right? Like normally, if the Earth
Yeah.
doesn't tilt, you will see that it strikes the equator the most. But because it tilts, so Tropic of Capricorn or Tropic of Cancer receive the most sunlight. So it's because of the tilt of the Earth, 23.5 degree. That's why you have the points that is called Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. 23.5 degree away from the equator, isn't it?
Yeah,
It makes sense. I mean, why do you have to make things complicated to understand? Hmm.
I don't know.
Just like people have different ways to explain it, but not all of them easy to understand. Some of them just like catastrophic. All right, the Southern Hemisphere. There you go. I'm sure they're gonna give an example of Australia.
Yeah.
Can you just read it? The Southern Hemisphere.
If you live in
Australia. Mhm.
Australia, the season would be the reverse of those in Canada. You saw why in the flashlight activity you just compare
You
during
just
the
completed.
summer and the north.
You just completed.
Yeah. You saw why in the flashlight activity you just compare during the summer in the north when the sun shines. The Tropic of Cancer, the south has winter. There are fewer hours of daylight in the south.
Mhm.
When it is winter in the north, the opposite occurs.
The opposite
Sunshine.
occurs. Mhm. The opposite occurs. So you can say that spring and fall. It's almost the same because you can see the tilt of the Earth is almost like no tilt at all, right? During spring
Yeah.
and summer, because using a simulation before, you can see that there's no real differences between like the north and the south during spring and autumn or fall. So that's why spring and fall produces day that has like 12 day long equally. Doesn't matter if you are in the north or south. So we are right now in winter. Winter in the north.
Season and temperature.
Mhm. Seasonal house have different temperatures as well as different hours of daylight too.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you have to log in on these sites to learn?
Yeah, I have to. Because,
So if you're not logged in, you cannot see this content, isn't it?
well, you can review a bit of it.
If you do not log in, if you're not a student in these schools, can you log in using this content?
Well,
You haven't tried, right?
I, yeah.
You haven't tried. Okay, I think should not, because this
Yeah.
content I think is available only for students who paid already. Okay, areas with no sun like the far north or far south in winter are very cold. Of course, it should be very cold.
Yeah.
Now there's a
Season.
question. They say that how would the season? Okay, can you scroll up a bit? They say how would the
Yeah.
season if be different if the Earth does not have any tilt at all? So summer and winter it all strike at the same place, the equator, isn't it?
So, yeah.
So what does it mean for the season? Would the season be different? So it means people at the equator would always be hot everywhere, every time. But then the
Yeah.
people at up north will always be cold, always. So there would be no seasons, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's just
just
the
the
same
same.
everywhere. I mean, it's just the same all year round. If the Earth doesn't have any tilt. Let's show suggested answer. There you go. If there were no tilt, there would be no changes of season.
So it would be like stay the same and
Yeah,
just
the sun will always shine directly on the equator, so it will constantly be the same season everywhere on Earth. No season at all. Same. Either spring or fall. 12 hours daylight, 12 hours darkness, temperature will be the same all the time, depending on the angle of the sunlight, right? So it means that in one country, the temperature would always be the same everywhere, every time of the year.
yep. Take a break for a bit.
Okay, let's take a break for a bit. Okay, let's talk about seasons now.
As the Earth orbits the Sun, it does not change the tilt of its axis. As you can see in the previous diagram, the North Pole faces the Sun in summer and faces away from it in winter because of the position of the Earth in its orbit. You will explore this for yourself in the following activity. The temperature of its and the amount of sunlight at any given location on the surface of Earth differ throughout the season. This is caused by the tilt of the Earth as the Earth orbits the Sun on its tilted axis.
Mhm.
Different parts of the globe set exposed to more or less sunlight below are the position of the Earth in relation to the Sun. During each of the four seasons in northern countries like Canada, notice how in summer the north is tilted toward the sun. During each season in northern countries like Canada, and in winter the north is tilted away from the sun. In spring and fall, the north is in the same position relative to the sun.
Equinoxes and solstices. It's all start
So,
on the 21st day. Ironically. Ironically, June 21st is also the day when the sign of Cancer starts. Zodiac sign Cancer. It also explains why Cancerian people can be very warm and welcoming. I am one. And also explain why the Capricorn people, they're so cold. Just like winter. Okay, can you read it?
Yeah,
Solstices and equinoxes.
the term equinox mean equal, right?
Equinite.
Equinox,
Equinite.
equinite, equinite,
Equi mean equal,
equinite.
Nox, ox, nocturne, nocturne, the word nocturne, right?
Yeah,
Nocturnal, midnight. So nox is come from that. So equinox means equal night. Where's a day with equal hours sunlight and darkness? Can you just read it?
summer. Yeah, summer solstice is often
Solstice,
described.
solstice,
Solstice,
solstice. The summer
solstice,
solstice, solstice is often described
solstice.
as the longest day of the year. And the winter
As the
solstice.
longest day of the year, and the winter solstice is described as the shortest day. Solstice
Solstices and
equi-
equinoxes represent the end of one season and the start of the next.
represent the end of one season and start of the next. Solstices occur at the beginning of summer and winter, and equinoxes at the beginning of spring and fall. This table summarizes some information about these days in the Northern Hemisphere.
So summer actually started at around June 21st. I think someone
Well,
calls me. Anyway, let's continue.
some solitude, June 21st, Tropic of Cancer, most hours of daylight can be 16
16
hours or
hours or
more.
more.
Fall equinox, September 21st, equator, equal hour 12, 12 daylight and darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Winter solstice, December 21st,
Tropic
Tropic
of
of
Capricorn.
Capricorn.
That's when winter starts. Even though
Yeah,
before that the weather is really cold, but that's when winter starts. And people expect white Christmas during, of course, during Christmas, but most of the time it doesn't. Due to global warming, I don't think we will have white Christmas during like winter time. I mean during Christmas time.
spring equinox, March 21st, equator
Of
equal
course, spring and fall
hour.
equal day and night, but winter solstice, the fewest hours of daylight can be 8 hours or less. So it means during winter solstice, that day, it gets dark very quickly. It gets
Yeah.
dark very quickly during that day. Solstices and equinoxes have long been celebrated and observed by various cultures over time because season affect like how people produce, how people work, how people rest, how people study, and a lot of human activities. So that's why seasons are important. And so they realize these days are the days that the season changes. So that's why they celebrated these days, those days,
Yeah.
Aboriginal Day, June 21st. It's a day to
Solstice and
celebrate indigenous culture, language, and ceremonies. National Aboriginal Day. never know it. Now I know. National Aboriginal Day, June 21st. Like Thanksgiving, right? In America.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
Thanksgiving, the history of Thanksgiving actually is nothing fun. Thanksgiving is
Yeah.
basically to commemorate, to basically to show gratefulness to the indigenous people of America. Because when first the European settlers came there, it's the indigenous people that harbor or give food, give shelter to the white people from Europe. But then after half a century or 100 years later, there were war, there were bloodshed, and finally the indigenous people had to they are pushed back into like very bad land, and they have very small number left. So much for being thankful, right?
Yeah.
Very very ironic. So and then the weird thing is that when America celebrate Thanksgiving, the next day is Black Friday. A lot of the time after that is Black Friday. So very thankful for what they have, and then they keep on buying and buying and buying and destroy the environment. So there's a lot of irony about this, if you think about it. And I hope National Aboriginal Day in Canada is different. That people are really do thank or celebrate Indigenous people, culture, and language in ceremonies. You know, not just a name. Okay, let's continue. Summer solstices traditions. If you're ready, you can go down there.
Yeah.
Summer solstices traditions.
The following section will give you more information about how the
Summer
summer solstice.
solstice is and was celebrated in various
Yeah.
countries and cultures.
To learn about more summer solstice tradition, press on each of the following element and read the information provided. Ancient Greek. According to certain
Iteration of
iter-
the Greek calendar.
iteration, they vary widely by region and era. The summer solstice was the first day of the years.
Hmm.
Several several festivals were held around this time, including
Cronia.
Cronia.
It sounds like Corona. Of course, Corona means like the crown, you know, the king, the
Yeah.
crown. Celebrated at the culture god Cronus. Cronus. Slave participating in a merriment as equals or being served by their masters. Really? The summer solstice was a mark the 1 month countdown to the opening Olympic Games. Wow. Never know that slaves can be served by their master sometimes.
Yeah.
It's weird. The more you know, the better. Okay, let's just read our ancient Greek a bit, and then we'll move on to ancient Romans.
Yeah. Which celebrate the agriculture god Cronus.
Cronus.
The strict social codes temporarily turned on its head during Cronia, with slaves participating the mermaid as equal or even being.
Served by their masters.
Summer solstice also marked the 1 month countdown to the opening of the
The
Olympic
opening of
Games.
the Olympic Games.
Ancient Rome. In the day leading up to the summer solstice, ancient Romans celebrate the
Vestalia festival.
Vestala, which paid tribute to Vesta, the goddess of earth. Ritual including the sacrifice of an unborn calf removed from its mother womb. This was the only time of year when married women were allowed to
Allowed to the
enter
sacred
the
temple
sacred temple
of the Vestal
of Vesta.
Virgins and make offering to Vesta there.
God,
You know, back then people were just so religious and so weird. They would make sacrifices, you know.
yeah,
It's weird, very weird. People were thinking weirdly, and that's why the Roman was, I think they were punished by the gods, I think. I don't know, maybe ancient Greeks or ancient Romans, I'm not so sure. But Romans are basically just Italian these days. Literally Italians. And then the ancient Chinese.
ancient Chinese. The ancient Chinese participate in the ceremony on
On summer
summer
solstice.
solstice to honor the death,
The earth.
amenity, and the force known
Or
as
known as yin.
yin.
Yin and yang. You know yin yang, right?
Yeah,
So yin is the woman, is the feminine energy. Yin yang, dương, you know. So yin is the female energy. It complemented the winter solstice ritual, with regard to heaven's masculinity, and yang, which is the male energy. So the earth is basically yin, and the heavens up there is a yang. What is that? What they say?
yin yang.
That's what the Chinese believe in.
It complemented the winter solstice ritual, which was devoted to the heaven, masculinity, and yang.
Mm-hmm.
Asian Northern and Central European
Ancient,
tribes.
not Asian. Ancient Chinese.
Ancient Chinese. No,
The German. Oh,
no.
I think it's ancient Northern and Central European tribe. There's nothing to do with ancient Chinese. Weird.
Wait, what?
Maybe. Okay.
Wait, huh?
It is the
No,
tab.
it's
The
just the
tab
text.
wasn't changed. Weird. It's supposed to be like ancient Northern and Central European tribes. Germanic, Slavic, and Celtic pagans. You know who pagans are? Pagans. Pagans are the people who worship demons, worship nature, worship things that belong to nature, you know.
Yeah,
So they are basically the one who worship the stars, the heavens, nature, and the force of nature. They don't worship gods. They don't worship gods at all, but they worship nature. They also worship demons. They worship like the stars, and they do astrology and things like that. They are pagans.
yeah,
And of course, the Christian people, they don't like pagans, of course, because these pagans are they're non-believer. They don't believe in gods. Bonfires, join Germany, Austria, and Estonia, country. Bonfires. Uh-huh.
some Asian tribe practice a ritual in which couple would jump through the flame to predict how that year the
That year's
crop
crop
would
will
grow.
grow. And then
Vikings.
the Vikings are the one who throw axes, and then they drink blood, something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's their traditions. The Vikings, basically these days, the real Vikings, you know who? Icelandic
No.
people. Icelandic people,
Oh,
Norwegian people, Finnish people, and Swedish people. These are the Viking countries, you know. Midsummer was a
yeah.
crucial time of year for Nordic for seafarers. Nordic, so basically just Scandinavian countries.
Native Americans. Many Native American tribes
Took part in
took part in
centuries-old midsummer
century-old
ritual, some of which
some
still
of which
practiced
are still
today.
practiced today.
The
The,
Sioux, the Sioux,
S- the
or
Sioux.
Sioux is basically Sioux, or Sios, or Sioux,
Yeah.
I think, are basically just Native American tribes. We have Apache, Navajo, Sioux, and other kind of other tribes.
For instance, perform as a submerged sun dance around the tree while wearing similar color. Some scholars believe that woman performed medicine wheel, an arrangement of stone built several hundred years ago by the Plain Indian, aligned with the solstice sunrise and sunset, and was therefore the site of that culture annual sun dance.
Uh-huh. Annual sun dance. So basically, back then, people, of course, they observe nature and they observe changes in the spring and in the seasons, you know, and of course, they form ritual like that. So Native American are not exceptions. They are not exceptions. They do something similar too. Okay, and then Maya and Aztec. Those people are South American. How exactly the mighty pre-Columbian civilization? So it means that these Maya and Aztec people, they are there in South America before Columbus even discovered that continent, you know.
Yeah.
Before Columbus explored uh, the continent of America, the Maya and Aztec was there. But basically, not much were known about them, basically. They're still a mystery, Maya and Aztec.
Pre-Columbian civilization of Central America celebrate midsummer.
The
The
ruins of
ruins
their once great cities.
indicate great significance of
Significant
that
of the
day.
day. Temples, public buildings, and structures often precisely aligned. Good
With the
shadow
shadow
transformation.
by major astrological
Astrological
phenomena.
phenomena. So basically, like for example, we have days where the moon is moving aligned with the sun and the earth. So basically, we have lunar eclipse or solar eclipses, and then it will cast a shadow on those buildings, particularly the summer and the winter solstices. Of course, these people they worship the sun and the moon too. You know, and they live according to what the moons. I mean, the stages of the moon in 1 month. You know. Druids, the
Druid.
Druids, the Celtic high
Druids.
priest. Shh. You know, the Druids are basically people who wear clothes just like animals. Celtic high
Really?
priests known as Druids. Celtic people are basically Irish. I think Irish people, the Celtic people, but I'm not so sure if there are more Celtic people elsewhere in Europe. Likely led ritual celebration during midsummer, but can't remember. It is unlikely these took place at the Stonehenge, England's most famous megalithic stone circle. Mhm. So basically, people think that the Stonehenge has something to do with astronomical or astrological measurements, or to do something with the season or something like that. Of course, but things are not exactly sure. We cannot be so sure about that.
In solar eclipse. Introduction. On Earth, there are two eclipses that are significant: solar and lunar eclipse. A solar eclipse happens when the moon completely or partially blocks our view of the sun. A lunar eclipse happens
When
when
the
the
Earth
Earth
casts
casts
a shadow across the face of the full moon. Total eclipses are rarer, of course, because there's nothing totally like perfect total solar eclipse or total lunar eclipse.
yeah.
Things are not really easy to be that perfect. But just remember, eclipses is when three objects on the sky align in one line. So basically, they are one line. Sun, Earth, Moon in one line. That is eclipse. But it depends on the position of the moon. You have eclipses, solar eclipse or lunar eclipses. Okay, let's talk about lunar eclipse first.
Lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse happens when the sun, the earth, and the moon are aligned so that the earth blocks the sun ray from reaching the moon, as shown
As
here.
shown here.
You have learned that the alignment of the sun, the earth, and the moon happen only during a full moon. So why don't we see a total lunar eclipse every 28 days? The reason is that the moon orbits not exactly the same plane as the earth orbit the sun.
Mhm.
As shown in the diagram, normally during a full moon, the moon is slightly above or below the earth.
So it's like it's not exactly like the same plane, but it's like you know they don't coincide. Basically, they are not parallel to each other.
You've learned that the alignment of the sun, the earth, and the moon happen only during the full moon. So why don't we see a total lunar eclipse every 28 days? The reason is that the moon orbit is not exactly at the same period as the Earth orbit of Sun, as shown in the graph. Here's a composite image of 15 photograph taking of the moon over the course of a total lunar eclipse.
Mhm. It passes into the Earth's shadow, then out again. The journey takes about 2 hours.
The second star in the upper left-hand corner move across the row up to the 8th, show how the moon changes its appearance as it passes into the
Past the
Earth's
Earth's
shadow.
shadow.
And then
So
again,
basically, the Earth's shadows will make the moon less visible, but then it will pass the shadow soon, so you don't see the moon disappearing for too long. Moon moves quite quickly, you know. It's taking
yeah,
about 2 hours. And it's safe to look at lunar eclipse without eye protection, but it is not safe to look at solar eclipse without eye protection, okay? Because you're basically looking at the sun, and it's really bright. It's not very safe without eye protection. So, but we can look at lunar eclipse easily because it's not really that bright anyway. No brighter than a normal full moon. Did we learn that the same side of the moon always face the Earth, right?
yeah,
So
I
basically, the
think you
other
did.
side, the dark side of the moon, and we don't see it when we're on Earth. We have to go there to see it for ourselves. You don't know exactly what's on the other side of the moon. So basically, because the moon doesn't show its dark side to us, so that's why in many cultures we say that the moon is a mysterious object, you know. It's a mysterious object. The weird, lunatic, crazy object. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of words or things related to the moon too in our culture, human culture.
Solar eclipse. A solar eclipse occurs when the moon faces between the sun, and the earth, and
And
block the
blocks the
light
light from the
from the
sun.
sun. Solar eclipse happen only during daytime and
And
last
lasts
about
for
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Of course, because during daytime you have the sun, right? Nighttime you don't
Yeah.
have the sun. But solar eclipse you need the sun, so that's why it only happens during daytime.
Solar eclipse happen only during daytime and last. This diagram shows the alignment sun, moon, and solar eclipse occur when the moon is able to cast a shadow on Earth. The location on the Earth in the darkest shadow sees a total eclipse. But
Okay, observing a solar eclipse now.
you should use extreme caution when observing a solar eclipse.
Because you're looking at
It
the
can
sun, so you should not do that. Unless you want
uh,
your eyes to burn. Can permanently damage your eyes and can even cause blindness. When I was younger, I tried to look directly at the sun and my eyes were burning. I mean, maybe it causes some eye damage, I don't know. Normally too brightly look at directly. You naturally like squint or quickly turn away before any damage is done. Oh, thank God. During a solar eclipse, however, the sun doesn't seem as bright. There's still enough dangerous UV radiation to damage your eyes permanently.
Yeah.
Oh damn. It's not safe.
Sun is not. Regular sunglasses will not protect your vision. Instead, the best way to observe the solar eclipse is indirectly. You can use a telescope, binocular, or pinhole camera. A piece of cardboard with
Pinhole camera.
pinhole camera.
A
A piece of
pinhole camera.
a
It's
pinhole.
basically as little holes, you can see pinholes. A piece of cardboard with tiny hole punch on it. You can look at the pictures there and they will tell you exactly what it is, pinhole something. What? And they say never look directly at the sun through the telescope, binocular, or pinhole. What? Okay, so basically they have to aim the device at the sun and focus the image of the sun on the wall or piece of paper about a meter away. So you have to look at that image. You don't look directly through the telescope, binocular, or pinhole. You know, you have to look at that image only. Ah, that's
Yeah.
why. To avoid eye damage, you know. That's why you have to look at it indirectly. Unless your eye will like burn. Seriously, telescope, they focus the light. So the sun is extremely bright already. And if you focus the light even, your eye will burn, literally burn. So never look directly into the sun through the telescope, binocular or pinhole. Never do that. That could be your worst ever mistake.
In the device of the sun and focus the image of the sun on a table, on the wall, or piece of paper about a meter just away. Question: List three similarity between solar and lunar eclipse.
List three similarity between solar and lunar eclipses. Okay, so first of all, they are all eclipses, right?
Yeah.
So they are both eclipses. And the second thing, what's the second thing? Something shadows another thing.
A great shadow. No.
They are special astronomical events.
No.
Of course, they are both special astronomical events. Yeah. So what do you think? Just think about it. Think about it. Similarities. think it's time already.
Yeah.
But let's just check the answer to see what the answers are. 3 and following. Okay, both require special alignment of the moon, earth, and sun. Of course, they are all eclipses, so they require alignment of moon, earth, and sun in the same line, right?
Yeah.
Both there can be total and partial eclipses for both the sun and the moon, so they can be total or partial eclipses. Both type of eclipses were important to ancient people. Oh, so it's important in terms of ritual, in terms of product harvest and other things to ancient people. Total eclipses of both kinds are rarer than partial eclipses. So these are 4 of them actually. You understand it?
Yeah.
Okay, good, great. Now let's end it here. I think that's all on astronomy in a nutshell. This is the last learning activity of astronomy.
Yeah.
So basically, these are things you should review more at home. These astronomy, star, galaxy, constellations, Big Bang theory, solar system, something. So all these things are basically just for revision. So it's for you to do at home, okay?
Yeah.
Now. Okay, that's the end of my videos. Please like, share this video with your friends, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and press on the bell button next to the subscribe button so you can get notified about my new uploads, okay? You can also press follow my Facebook, but please don't add me on Facebook as friends, okay? Cảm ơn các bạn đã theo dõi nha. Các bạn hãy nhấn vào like, chia sẻ video này bạn bè các bạn. Nhấn vào nút đăng ký kênh YouTube mình và nút cái chuông kế bên cạnh để đăng ký kênh đó, để mà các bạn có thể được thông báo về những video mới nha. Các bạn cũng có thể nhấn vào nút theo dõi Facebook mình, nhưng nhớ đừng kết bạn Facebook mình nha. Thank you and see you. Bye.